My name's Mark Yoxon and I'm Liaison Officer for Environmental Education and Training for the Faculty of Maths, Computing and Technology. The idea emerged from a group of people in the systems department of what was then the Faculty of Technology, and they were really keen to have a one-stop shop really to find out how they could do things both within the university and outside the university that would make sense in terms of environmental action. And they wanted it to connect up with some of the issues that were on their personal as well as departmental agendas. So we did a very rough and ready working version of the wiki probably 10 months or so ago, and then tested that out with the systems folks. And then it developed because I talked to colleagues I know in public relations, and public relations, there was a guy there called Stuart Brown who was really keen in this area as well. So he and I kind of reversioned it into probably a much more sophisticated version of the wiki, so that it would then be available to all members of staff in the university. Because it's a whole series of pages, it can be adjusted and changed by anybody who wants to use it. So what we've done is really the first opening page has got all the subject areas like issues like energy, printers and paper, procurement, transport, waste and recycling, water, food and drink, etc. And then if you go into any one of those sections, the format at the moment is pretty well the same, although with it being a wiki, it might evolve over the next 12 months or so. So it's got a section on practical things that you can do to make a difference. So very straightforward tips about what you can do about energy management, things you can do to reduce your impact. And then it's got ideas for wider departmental issues that people might take up. And then it's got links to internal and external websites. So we wanted a lot of people said, well, I know the university do something about this, but I'm not sure what it is or what I should do. So we put the links into those things to the OU's energy management systems, to what people can do with their waste paper and recycled paper and where they should put their cans, all that kind of stuff. And then we wanted to get external links into external websites, which would give perhaps a bigger picture, and encourage people to think a bit outside the box or outside the OU. And then the fourth part is really facts and figures. So I suppose issues like, well, what difference does it make if I buy rechargeable batteries in a battery charger compared with just buying, disposable batteries for the equipment that we use. So it's got those sort of facts and figures and little calculators and things like that in. And then sitting amongst all of that is a discussion forum. So if people have thoughts and ideas or tips or whatever, they can put their own topical tips in and encourage other people to extend their thinking and ultimately to, I suppose, to roll their sleeves up and actually do something which makes a difference. It was aimed originally for individuals within the systems department, but the reversioning that Stuart and I have done has made it into much more of an open university staff resource. And in between the original systems version and what's now the new live version, we had conversations with Director of Estates and also with the University Secretary. And we've also got permission, before we actually launched it, for general use by staff. We made sure that everybody was happy with it. So it's now live and signed off by university management. I have to say it's kind of slow, but we kind of hummed and hawed about whether we should launch the wiki in 2008 or whether we should launch it in December, and we went for the December launch. And we, alongside it, we did a kind of Green New Year's resolutions piece in Open House. So we decided that we'd launch it in December. So I think it's going to need a bit of nudging over the next few months. And I guess, like myself, a lot of people have only just come back off their Christmas, New Year break and probably got other things on their minds as they wade through their emails and post and whatever. I'm hoping that it's going to evolve quite a lot perhaps over the next 3 to 6 months. And certainly Stuart and I have got in our, kind of penciled in our diaries to get our heads back together and see what's happened, to keep an eye on it. Already, something that has happened is I put a link in the wiki to the Milton Keynes transport site, and people can then log on and say, well, I want to go on the bus, the train, or whatever from Milton Keynes to somewhere else in the UK, which is quite useful. Somebody said, did you know there is also a site, a UK site, that you can put your postcode in where you're starting from, your postcode in where you're finishing, and it works out the most effective public transport route from A to B. So already so there's that evolution's already happened, because somebody said, well, actually, the Milton Keynes one's really useful, and obviously it needs to stay in there, but this national one is probably even more useful to people. So that's gone in. So I think the changes will happen steadily as people begin to use it, and we keep reminding them that it's there to use, and a useful point of reference for taking environmental actions that dovetail with what the university is already doing. I think it may well do that. I know that a number of universities around the country have got environmental policies, and I have to say, from a personal perspective, it's a little disappointing that we haven't got one yet. And there's a lot of good practice around, but most of the things I've seen tend to be not as flexible as a wiki. So it's saying, this is our institution policy, this is what you should do, this is what we're doing, full stop. Whereas the wiki is something that we hope staff will become involved with, and it'll change and evolve and be more dynamic than a kind of handbook on environmental practice. You always like to think that we're kind of unique in the marketplace, so I hope that this might be the first of many such initiatives around the UK. At the moment, the wiki is available to staff, so you have to use your staff ID and log on. We had some discussions with the university secretary about longer term maybe making it into a resource for students as well, and I guess associate lecturers can get at it. But if we think about, however many hundreds of thousands of students we've got, if each one of those students took some of the advice or guidance in the wiki and did something in their own lives, then if we add all those up, it could make a huge difference to environmental practice, across the UK and further afield as well. Perhaps just to pick up on that point you made about feedback, because I think it would be really good to see what people are doing and what makes sense for them to do. We might find a lot of people are recycling, but maybe as national initiatives begin on waste electrical and electronic equipment, the WE directive, that people think, well, actually, I shouldn't be putting this in the bin. There are routes that I can take this and then it can actually be reused or recycled. It will be, I think, interesting, maybe a year down the line, and particularly if the wiki is used by students as well as staff, to see what people are doing and maybe even find out why they're doing certain things, and maybe then even build that into some of our course material in the environmental decision making program and some of the other work we're doing, as live examples of good practice.